Help us level the playing field. Sign the parliamentary petition today to fuel the growth and fund the game.
potential footing and to really good effect. Laleas momentarily had two charging forwards. Went to roll it for Sawa. Fresneda calm, got it from Romana. Gave Richards one to chase. Pearson did well. And Bradley saw it better to clear. Well, good evening to all of you. If you have just joined us, if you've just come into this stream, at the moment Craigieburn City 1 up, looking to make it 2. Sawa was trying to get her way beyond Pearson, had no way further forward. Minami Tomita tiptoed in at the near post off a corner, the game's first corner. That currently is the difference. Opening patch of this game that's ebbed and flowed, having gone behind Beaumaris, then looked to settle a lot better. Get a couple of opportunities of their own. There's just an ongoing check on Rachel Mason. Thankfully was okay. Might have come off a little bit worse in that particular battle for possession. Laleas went to flick it on further. Touch only benefited Salisbury. And Pearson again could not get out. The press was high. Richards made life difficult. Laleas went across, gave her a helping hand as well. Romana gave it to Tomita, who tiptoed away from one and then threaded it gorgeously on for Sawa, who steered it. Sato had a yard for herself and fired over the bar. Though when they ramped the pressure up, they had Beaumaris well and truly on the back foot. Superb shift from Tomita, who already has started this game with terrific touch. Ball in from Sawa was a teasing one. Sato just couldn't keep it down. Those three in particular have had rather standout seasons so far. In blue and black, though it was in vain at the weekend. Sawa was at the double for Craigieburn City. They were defeated though by Altona City. At the most recent of 3 straight defeats in the league. It's been a bit of a patchy run for them since that cup exit at the hands of Alamein. Same could not be said for Beaumaris. 4 straight wins since defeat to Bentley Greens, which saw the end of their Nike Cup run in the round of 16. Both of these two went no further. Though very valiantly were flag bearers for the State League. Was emphatic at the weekend for Beaumaris. 6-0 win over Monash Uni. That took them top of State League 1 South East. As it was again cleared further forward. Romana's in retreat. Watts was given one to chase. She is one who's having quite a season, is Layla Watts. Was set back and hooked away. Salisbury was there to mop up. Caitlin Richards did well under trouble. Sato now was then able to ward off Salisbury and go beyond, and had Richards further forwards, who was charging. Caitlin Richards had a yard, delivered to the near post. Bradley came in just as Sawa was ushered out of the equation. Bradley again has sent long. They've wanted to make life awkward, particularly down their right-hand side. Give Levin opportunities. Kasoulis has been equal to it so far. This time getting a foot in was Russo. Centre halves have had a bit to do. Sato was tidy, and Tomita again can charge. And look to slide it for Sura in the channel. Salisbury, and now Watts. Her first opportunity to have a look at both Tomita and Romana. Layla Watts only could find Richards when trying, in truth, to set it back for Pearson. Mason's got a yard now, and she's got options 2 up with her. Went to clip it into the channel for Michelle Levin to chase, and she might get the beneficiary from that. Craigieburn made a hash of it when clearing their lines. Campbell came out too with yet another heart-in-mouth moment for them. Just when Beaumaris have looked to clip the ball into that channel and weight it to the edge of the 18-yard box, that's where they've looked the most problematic for Craigieburn to deal with. Campbell has come through to clear without too much effect on a couple of occasions. Again, Watts trying to find her way forward. Was cleared for Galanos to rekindle. She got in ahead of Siwa. So back in the end for Dimos, who was invited to drive. And then could only, again, find Richards. She looked to steer it for Pearson, who will recover well. And then get it back from Dimos without too much fuss. Sawa across the press. Tomita was too. That one for Mason was a little bit awkward. Tomita now recovered. Rolled on for Fresneda, who was waiting on the overlap. Stood up by Kasoulis, taken down by Sato, set for Fresneda. Steered on once more for Leleas. Richards with whip. Sato got across, and the flag was up for offside. Not an evening for those who aren't a fan of a cool climate. Though it is clear, it is well and truly crisp. And on an evening this crisp, the crispest bit of action from Minami Tomita so far is the difference. That's Romana. Again, look to clip it into the channel. And Richards was there in ahead of Salisbury. In fact, Leleas was in ahead of Salisbury. Was taken quickly for Sawa. And this time the footing from Bradley was a good one. Romana again invited to advance forward. Tomita. Romana. Again, with depth to the back post. There was no on-runner. Kasoulis will keep it alive. To ward off pressure from Galanos, who cleared. Has had quite a tidy start to this game as Nikki Galanos. Hasn't allowed Kasoulis much space. And Tomita has been the one who has been dictating. Set back for Sato. Tomita. Again, went to go with tidy feet, but there was no way beyond Avram on that occasion. Flicked by Leleas, away by Galanos. Set on for Avram. Kasoulis recovered it. Moved essentially for Leleas. There's a shout for handball waved away. Bradley got in not once, not twice, but thrice. And then Leleas went and won it back once more for good measure. Steered it on for Sawa, who had Richards round the outside. Set it back for Fresneda instead, who invited Romana to roam, as she will do. Romana had it opened up. Salisbury came across the block. Just worked a yard on Mason wonderfully. Now Watts, who had two to go around, which she could not. Tomita at the end of a wonderfully evaded press. Call from Rousseau as well. Kasoulis now. Tomita just had to peel off. They've really balanced this first half. Up until this point of Craigieburn City, they just had to settle in after Beaumaris looked to reply in kind from going behind. There's Strangis. Patient. Sawa, that's a good take and a good turn. Fresneda looked to thread it in the channel for Richards, and Bradley will come through to claim without much fuss. Pearson just making extra short. Spit long by Bradley. The take from Levin was good, but Fresneda read it well. Romana happy to return things. Campbell has settled since those early couple of clearances that didn't quite go to plan. Stranges has got room to drive. Had Sato tucking in, had Kasoulis round the outside, likewise Leleas, and could only find touch when trying to steer it for one of them. You just wonder already for Craigieburn City in a half where up until this point they've been unblemished and mostly unbothered. What this might mean for their prospects. Romana uncertain, likewise was Campbell, though she retreated in time, just as Levin was looking to cause an issue. Romana once more, unable to evade Levin. And set back for Campbell. Clip for Tomita, who wasn't able to take it under. Kate Bradley recovered. Clip back for Galanos. Bradley, Mason will have a driver self from range. And Campbell with a little bit of an uncertain glance momentarily. Was then far happier to see it fly wide of her post. Though that is the best Beaumaris have conjured up till this point. First opportunity they've had where it's opened up from range. Rachel Mason wasn't going to shy away, and she might get another opportunity. Mason with whip, this one more comfy for Campbell. Just wasn't able to catch it cleanly. Stepped away from Tomita terrifically though. Spit long for Leleas, recovered by Bradley, who when clipping wide asked a lot of Avram. Sato, super twist and turn away from two. Kasoulis now. Couldn't thread it for Leleas. Calm in recovery was Galanos. Able to get beyond Tomita. Avram though. Set it back for Dimos. She looked to spear it on its way for Levin, who then had Pearson on the overlap. Salisbury invited to drive. Pearson wanted the return. It was a fraction behind her, which fell for Tomita. Now Saba, who had Sato on the charge, and Craigieburn can counter. Leleas is further forward. Salisbury's in retreat. Sato just without many more further forward. And then unable to find Kasoulis, who was the late overlap. You just wonder at the moment. Beaumaris must be looking to try and change this game already. Was helped over the top for Levin, who dropped in well, and it was tidily done in truth by Dimos. And now worked out for Pearson, who had Dimos round the outside. Mason had tucked in. Again steered only for Fresneda, who read it best centrally. Cut back for Campbell. Watts was momentarily interested. Now Romana. Craigieburn wanting to go more patiently. Slow the game down if they can. Dimos got a foot in. Bradley whipped it on. Fresneda's touch was tidy. Romano went for Richards, who took it terrifically. Got away from Dimos, got in ahead of Bradley. Mason allowed to turn. And it's essentially once more for Levin. Worked their way out of a tight spot well. Sakurai did superbly. Salisbury. Happy to return home for Bradley. Worked out for Galanos, who got away from Sato for the time being. Who wasn't able to steer it further forward. The two sides have had a very contrasting month of July. With a look at recent results, you may have thought that this certainly would have Not gone the way it had done in the early exchanges. All it took was one set piece, though. Here is Mason looking to change things for Beaumaris, and it's a glorious ball for Watts, who had stayed on sides, and Campbell got it right by the perfect amount. As she needed to as well. Layla Watts had timed the run perfectly. The ball was terrific to find her. Maybe, just maybe, the touch to set up the strike was a little too heavy, and that invited Campbell to close the door. But a good bit of judgment. Sato's whip now. Looking for Richards. Bradley through a crowd. And then look to clip it for Pearson. Dimos couldn't drive through Richards. Fresneda got a foot in, as did Mason, who was then caught late and wins a free kick. Conversation over who would take that Beaumaris free kick. Galanos was over it. Mason will take it, and will take it with depth, searching for Avram. Tomita got up. Kasoulis' flick on, though, was one which nearly favoured Sakurai, who, though wasn't able to get there, did see it out for a corner. Rachel Mason sauntering over. So Beaumaris' first real opportunity from a set piece. Just built a couple of chances for themselves in the last couple of minutes. Mason's take to the near post. Avram got free! Wonderful save. Brilliant from Campbell, who got across terrifically to make a super stop and preserve Craigieburn City's lead. Was caught sweetly by Avram. It went through a crowd. She saw it really late, and on pure reaction and reflex, was able not only to provide a stop, but also to gather. There were a couple in white who were waiting for any sort of secondary opportunity, one which they were not provided with. But in the last couple of minutes, and it's now not one but two really good looks Beaumaris have had. Campbell equal to both. But they are ramping the pressure up themselves. Galanos over to take the throw hurriedly. It's cleared only as far as Bradley, who had Salisbury advancing. Steered for Mason, who got under it, and it is dipping devilishly on Campbell, though, who judged it well and had quite an easy claim. Steered out for Romana, who got in just ahead of Pearson, who had a vested interest. Sato went to steer it on. Galanos came through. Fresneda then nodded it, only to the benefit of Watts. Now Levin. And again Mason to have a drive, and again Campbell to claim. And for all the efforts they've conjured for Beaumaris in this period where they have been building momentum, they've all been from range. Campbell's not had too much of a test. Richards in firmly and well. Dimos was not best pleased about it. Sato was on the charge. In retreat was Sakurai, who went to hold Sato up, and through this time was Pearson. Craigieburn City know what another would do, especially at this point in the half. They'd warded off a bit of a Beaumaris bite back, A second would cause that sinking feeling, and they do in fact have a corner. Romana quickly short for Tomita, who was entirely unmarked. And she whipped dangerously, nodded away by Salisbury, only as far as Leleas. Romana's turn to drive. Oh, it always shaped away from being one to trouble Danielle Bradley. And not for the first time this evening. Craigieburn City have looked to take a set piece. Beaumaris have been all at sea. Mason unable to flick on to effect. Fresneda. Richards with a good take, and now Rachel Mason's got room to drive and has two up with her. Watts was one of them. Fresneda. After a really good read from Russo. They moved it on for Strangis. Out the other way for Kasoulis. Sato was given a barge by Galanos and got a free kick. Kasoulis got to the edge of the area. Sato wanted to give it a flick. Salisbury wasn't able to clear fully. Sato away from one, away from two. Her effort blocked by Salisbury. Galanos didn't clear with too much force. Fire a deflection off Fresneda. Just momentarily gave Bradley a bit of readjustment, though the deflection was not wicked enough to take it too far away. Bradley wanted 11. Romana got up. Tomita recovered. Was away by Russo, which only benefited Mason. Her flick found Watts via a ricochet off Russo. Set back for Mason once more. Moved on for Avram, who had Sato to ward off and did so wonderfully. Avram looked to steer for Watts. Russo got a foot in. Richards to Tomita now. Was then met with press from Levin. Was just starved of options at the wrong time. Beaumaris, though, still aware of the fact that for all of their muster, it has not brought anything that's come to fruition just yet. As Campbell worked it out the other way for Strangis. Sato. Galanos was there to press, as was Bradley. And our challenge only finds touch. It is still the narrowest of leads in this first semi-final. Craigieburn really caught Beaumaris off guard early. Had a fast start themselves. That is the difference. Fresneda, Tomita, good challenge from Bradley. Levin on for Avram, who was just waiting on somebody to open up. Galanos with whip. Campbell will be there to claim, once again, without much discomfort. Might be the only criticism of Beaumaris in this first half. They may look out at the break. Opportunities they have carved out. Been from distance. Campbell's had a good line of sight. Craigieburn City have looked with more intricacy. Sato Tomita in particular have wanted to tiptoe their way through the lot. Avram steered it on. Mason got it from Watts and then drilled it into Watts. And it fell with fortune for Fresneda. Tomita on for Romana, who has got Richard streaming further forward. Likewise with Sawa, was one back well by Mason, on for Levin. And now the space will open up down the left-hand side for Pearson. Mason's touch a little heavy. Sawa got a foot in. Watts kept it rolling. Sawa cleared, no further than Dimos. Bradley. Not the other way for Galanos, though, with far too much force. Half of real Beaumaris frustration. And one of, up until this point, Craigieburn defiance, as Pearson's got room once again. Had Romana to go at, rolled it back for Mason. Challenge from Sato. Tomita, Campbell, who cleared no further than Bradley, whose touch invited Richards to get a foot in. Likewise for Sawa, who got around Dimos, though not around Pearson, who will see it into touch. Kim for Pearson, or full for Dimos. Avram let it run, and cleverly Levin just invited Stranges to get a foot in. Now Fresneda. Sato, who has got Galanos to go at. Fresneda. Russo, who worked it with whip for Richards, and she pilled fantastically. Got a yard on Pearson. A flick for Lelea. Salisbury came through. Layla Watts warded off Stranges. Set back for Avram. Now on for Sakurai, who couldn't get beyond Sato. Recovered by Kasoulis, who was out of room before being able to find further ground. Was flung down the line, and that ward off from Kasoulis was a little too firm. Sakurai just wanting to hold the space, but Beaumaris have got a free kick in what for Craigieburn City could be a problematic position. Set with whip to the near post. Campbell came through and then claimed just once again. Sakurai was lurking with interest. Stranges, Kasoulis went to clip for Leleas, though no further than Dimos. Another opportunity, though, that Beaumaris will feel they could have applied more pressure. Craigieburn have seen off everything to good effect so far. They know what importance it would be to see this half through as it is. For a side whose last victory came almost a month ago now to this point. A 2-0 win here against North Geelong Warriors. It's been a rather rough run since then. Their only victory in 5 across all competitions. Though they are looking to spring on the break with Sato once again, who got beyond Galanos and forced Beaumaris further into retreat. Romana gave her an option on the switch. Now Tomita. Kasoulis. It's more measured from Craigieburn City. Sato had a yard. On the overlap was Sawa. Galanos got in first. And it will be the final act of a first half, which has ebbed and flowed. Tomita, the difference maker early. The first corner of this game was one that was beneficial for Craigieburn City. Beaumaris have had a couple of glances, though Campbell, bar a couple of saves, has been equal to most without much fuss. Half-time at the moment, Craigieburn City are halfway there as they lead Beaumaris by a goal to nil. And so, Craigieburn City, 45 minutes from the Steph Catley Plate final. Beaumaris have got a little bit of a mountain to climb. Having gone behind early, switched off from a corner, Craigieburn City wanted a fast start, which they got. It is now up to Beaumaris to show some bite, to show some grit and some guile, and keep their opportunities for a first bit of silverware this season well and truly alive. Craigieburn City, they would have hoped for a night like this up until this point. They did have to weather a bit of a Beaumaris storm. They went ahead, and Campbell had a couple of saves to make. Rachel Mason looked the most likely, so they haven't been able to breach through so far. Sato Tomita linked up wonderfully. Craigieburn, as it stands, not necessarily in dreamland, but not far from it. And they will be wanting a second to set their sights on a final. And not only that, write their own little bit of history and win the first ever Steph Catley Plate fixture on this ground. Sawa's looking for a quick start to this second half. Leleas came across as an option. Sawa was out of room before being able to get too much further forward. It got a foot in on the way too. Charging forward was Romana. Nodded away by Salisbury. Flicked further by Bradley. Avram nodded it on. Levin got a touch and is in behind now. On her way away from Kasoulis. Levin behind 1-1. Right at the start of the half. Beaumaris have flown out of the traps and have got themselves level in next to no time. Response they longed for. Michelle Levin timed the run terrifically. The ball to finder from Mason was weighted most magnificently. The finish was cool. And having, at times, not been able to carve out too many an opportunity in the first half of Menace, the first one they get in the second half warrants an equaliser, warrants exactly what they were searching for. And for Craigieburn City, it flips the script. They had their own chances in the opening 45 to double their lead. They did not make good on them. And Beaumaris, in the nick of time, at the start of the second half, in next to no time itself, got themselves level. And they, all of a sudden, can maybe themselves start to see a plate final again. Like FC Cup this season, they hadn't found issue in scoring in cup competition. That has continued into the Steph Catley Plate. Dimos happy to step back for Bradley, and how the complexion of all of it changes. And just after that Beaumaris equaliser, it changes something that really was a plan for the second half. We've got Craigieburn City's Paul Jugo with me right now at the moment. First of all, Paul, good evening to you. Initially at half-time, 1-0 up, things would have been going well. What was the message at the break, even though I'm sure it would have changed now?
Unfortunately, sorry, Paul is busy. I'm Matt. I'm one of the other committee members. Paul's actually over in the coach's box tonight. Yeah, the message was really positive. Yeah, the girls came out and they playing forward and playing on the front foot, and that's what we asked for them, and that's what they were doing for much of the first half. And yeah, a bit unfortunate. First chance of the second half we've conceded, but I'm sure they'll make amends and get back into it.
The story of Craigieburn City as well is a fantastic one. Started back in 2014 as a club. Initially were searching for time to find a place at home. Used an old AFL pitch when it was unavailable, a place they used to wheel out goals. When you finally got to this place, it's been almost a decade here now. What was the feeling around the club, and just how massive was that for this football club?
It was huge. It was a great feeling, and being here. Well, obviously the first night we were moving in and moving everything in, and it was really exciting for the committee members who had been there from the start and really tried to get involved. So even when we did move here, we were still out of portables, and it was a bit of a building site still, but it was really exciting for us to have a home, to have a place that we could call our own, and really start growing as a club from there to the club we are today, which is great.
And on the pitch as well, you've seen that really transpire too. This season made the round of 16 in the Nike FC Cup, got the opportunity to go up against Alamein. Although it wasn't to be for you on that night, just how big of a sign is this, that this is a club that well and truly are going in a good direction?
Yeah, absolutely. That was a great night. We had a great crowd here, and really, despite the score on the night, I think we held our own, and we showed. And even talking to some of the great people from the Alamein club, they were really impressed with the team and the girls and the club and where we've come. So, you know, we've been building, especially our female program, we've been building it strongly for the last few years, and really looking at developing this team into something for our strong junior setup to aspire to. You know, we've got about 10 junior girls teams. We've got 9 female coaches in that as well. And, you know, we've been working on our female program. We're a 3-star fair play group as well. So, yeah. Sorry.
Craigieburn City free kick in a position of promise, was just wider than near post. Wanted the direct route, did Romana. That's where they've, at opportunities tonight, looked quite threatening. They looked to get at Beaumaris. Game does change when an equaliser comes, similar to the first half. How Beaumaris got a good patch, Craigieburn in one at the moment. This season in league play as well, it's been an interesting one. It's in the middle of the road at the moment in State League 1 Northwest. As far off 6th as you are at the top of the table, as Sato just looking to tiptoe her way through a crowd. Sawa wanted to drive, and through all the ricochets, Bradley was forced into a save. Lalea scored a good strike away, and in the end, she was able to go and gather. But just how much has gone into a night like this? It's been a bit of a tricky recent patch in terms of the league, but how much emphasis has been placed on really lifting the spirits of this side again with a performance like they've put in so far this evening here?
Yeah, we've, as you said, we've gone through a bit of a tricky patch in the league, and that's why we said before the game we wanted the girls to play on the front foot. We wanted them to have fun. We wanted them to enjoy the game, and you can see, especially the way they were playing in the first half, and the way they've seemed to come back into it after conceding in the second half. That, you know, that they are playing with that freedom, and it's a bit of a lighter feel around the team than it has been of late. So, yeah, second half of the season we'll look to build and go through it. And, you know, try and work our way back up the table a little bit.
Just one more before we let you go. What is the end vision for Craigieburn City as a football club? How high do you think this team can go? Is there a glass ceiling at all?
Oh, you'd hate to put limits on it. Like this team, you know, we had high hopes for them at the start of the year, and as you said, that this middle part of the season hasn't been great for us. But we want this team, and, you know, both our senior setups in male and female to be successful and to be pushing for the higher ends of the table and promotions and the work their way through the leagues. That's what I think every club would aspire to. I don't think we'd be on our own for that, but we're really hoping to do that.
Opportunity for Beaumaris in behind. Sakurai got a yard not once but twice and steered it centrally. It was set back for Avram, who drove. And in the end, Campbell had to get down to make a save. What a story for Craigieburn City. So, established in 2014, 12 years ago now. They've been here for almost a decade. This they'll be hoping to be one of their finest nights. It was certainly shaping that way in the first half. Beaumaris, though, to start this second half, have done so in terrific touch and with a terrific amount of pressure. Created one clear-cut opportunity. Levin got them level. And nearly, they got two in decently quick succession to flip this game on its head. They had battled in that first half. Sawa is looking too stiff forward. Leleas got behind. Galanos went to go and meet her. It then fell for Sato. Through was Salisbury. And now Levin to meet her with a good nod. Moved on for Kosoulis. To meet her, who has been terrific this eve so far. Strangis, clever. Sato. Away from Galanos, though not away from Mason, who then showed too much of it back to Sato. And she's got two to go at. A battle with Mason, one which toed and froed. Russo for Romana, who was under pressure from Levin, as was Campbell. She came across the clear. Craigieburn City under the pump. Here is Camilla Fresneda. Manami Tomita. Space opened up well for Kasoulis. He looked to thread for Sato, and Salisbury was there to hammer it away. A complete shift right at the start of this second half. Craigieburn City just starting to and wanting to get a foothold back into this game. And since Beaumaris got their leveller, they've had the best opportunity, though Craigieburn City have looked to just restore that element of control. Got them ahead in the first half, allowed them to manage it without too much fuss. Craigieburn City have themselves a corner. Sato set for Fresneda to take. Real congregation in and around that near post, where it is sent to. Bradley didn't get a look, and Sawa was stealing in. And was just unable to keep the header down. Got a really good run. Entirely unmarked when she went to go and meet it. And was not able to steer in a goal that would have put Craigieburn City back ahead. Beaumaris not for the first time this evening from a corner of just proven a little vulnerable. And they are starting to ramp the pressure back up. Tomita battling. It then fell for Levin, steered on for Avram, now returned for Mason. Motoring to get up the other way was Pearson. Dimos then starved of options. Sato came across the press. Neither side in particular made a change at the end of that first half, both wanting to see as far as they can go. That's a gorgeous take from Sawa. Salisbury was well placed to clear. Kasoulis, Tomita. Was steered back once again from Strangis. Steered into the path of Sawa, who was in collision with Salisbury and gave away a free kick. Salisbury was not too pleased about it. There was in fact one Beaumaris alteration at half time. Alexandra Theodosiou introduced into the mix, who, having got themselves level, are now chasing a way to go and win this game. Levin's touch a little heavy, which will invite Richards to go for a drive. She had two to contend with. Pearson came across in the end and got a foot in. Her fling long was well read. Romana's touch a little heavy. Sakurai had two to contend with and couldn't. Stayed alive for Fresneda. Was worked on for Tomita. She couldn't thread for Leleas. Salisbury battling, not once but twice. Left it for Dimos to take over, who went out the other way for Galanos. She went to spear it centrally. Romana the only one there. Tomita. Sato. Steered it on for Kasoulis. Tomita dropped in. Strangis, Fresneda, tidy turn. And Romana had made up the room. Return for Fresneda, that's a lovely move. Whipped teasingly to the near post, and Bradley came through to claim. Just as Linda Sawa was lurking. That comfortably though. The best that Craigieburn have carved out in this second half up to this point. Just started to find themselves in a good patch, and that's a good ball from Kasoulis, who gives Sato one to chase. Galanos in retreat. Leleas came across as an option. Sato Went with whip to the back post. Nodded away by Sakurai, on further by Mason. Now for Bradley. Avram. Theodosiou left it for Sakurai to charge. 2 up with her. Avram centrally, whom was quickly swarmed by 3. Tomita benefited after Russo got a foot in. Sawa unable to spin Dimos, who couldn't get further than Romana. Bradley, Avram. Okay, Bradley on again. Russo to clear. Tidy touch from Richards, who set it on for Sawa. Russo hammered it for Richards, who had stayed centrally. Tomita. That's a gorgeous ball for Kasoulis, who again has got Galanos to have a look at. Galanos stood firm, Kasoulis rekindled. Was waiting on Sato to give her a way out, which he did. Pearson alert to it and stayed with it. And in fact, Nicky Galanos might have a bit of a problem as well. It's just the halt on Kasoulis getting things going once more to ensure that she's all right to continue. Might have got a slight knock just in trying to slow up Kasoulis when she had the opportunity to go forward. Was whipped into the area. Salisbury cleared, though no further than Tomita, who turned away momentarily from Mason, though the ricochet found it for her once more. Start of an important run of fixtures really for Beaumaris. This as well. If they were to win tonight, it would be a massive step, not only towards silverware this season, but to continue a good winning run that they have been on. A return home at the weekend to play South Yarra. That a massive game in the State League 1 South East. The top of the table clash between those two sides before consecutive trips to Mooroolbark and Seaford United. They then don't return home again until the start of August against Aspendale. And a trip in the middle of that month to Knox City. For Craigieburn, if they were to get another, if they were to go on to win tonight, it would snap a little bit of a losing rot that had set in throughout the month of July and towards the back end of June. They then travel to Collingwood this Sunday afternoon in a game of importance if they are to keep the opportunity to push for a promotion space alive. Consecutive home games against Faulkner and St Albans. That St Albans one weighs heavily too in its importance. Before that start of August, trip to Uni Hill Eagles and then Sydenham Park back here. So a good thread of home games. They won't want to start it with a loss, though Beaumaris are looking to cause as much of an issue as they can. We're steered into the channel for Theodosiou to get on the end of. Wasn't able to get further forward. Campbell crashed it long. Sawa made life awkward for Bradley. Theodosiou once more. Threaded for Avram. Wanted the flick on return. Well read by Romana. Now Tomita. Set it out for Fresneda, who in turn got it from Richards. They just cannot really find much incision, Craigieburn City, at the moment to get through there. That's a good win from Sawa, who just for a moment had Richards rolling round the outside of her. Strand just got it from Tomita and was immediately pressed by Levin. Sawa, Fresneda invited forward. Went to thread it into the channel, though that was well read in the end. Without too much fuss from Dimos, who couldn't find Theodosiou. Fresneda once again. Romana now on the drive, away from one, away from two. Switched it on for Kasoulis, who didn't catch it cleanly. Just opened up though for Nilda Romana. As she crept her way forward. Got away from two, the third stood off. Just for a second, thought as though she might have had an opportunity to strike. Levin did superbly to keep it. Galanos threaded, and Avram was given one to chase in a foot race with Russo, which she will win. Was able to steer it back for Pearson. Set across for Theodosia to drive, and Campbell just momentarily was wrong-footed, though readjusted to gather. Romana got a foot in, and in turn got in ahead of Dimos. Richards set for Russo, and look at the space that opened up for Kasoulis. Across in a hurry was Pearson. Charging centrally were both Sawa and Leleas, cleared away by Salisbury. Kasoulis and then Pearson, who looked to go way beyond, and Kasoulis gave her a drag back, and for it will find herself in the book. Terrific perseverance from Amelia Pearson, who just showed a really bullish approach to get away from Kasoulis, having got the foot in first. Opportunity for Beaumaris to strike a telling blow. It'll be Mason's free kick. Set dangerously, nodded away thunderously by Tomita. It then fell for Strangis, who got away from Bradley just as she was waiting to get a challenge in. Sato for Tomita, and return for Campbell once more. Tomita, that's a lovely thread for Sato, who had Dimos in retreat. Galanos across ahead of Sawa. Pearson, good take with 2 to contend with. Dug it out for Levin. Tomita interested and steered tidily round the corner for Avram, who is waiting on runners centrally. Has Strangis to go at, was given a drag back once again. It will be yet another Beaumaris free kick. Craigieburn City, 2 in the book in quick succession, in fact. Maybe a case of mistaken identity. Strangis was not in fact given the first yellow, though will find herself with one. Her first yellow card was given out to Kasoulis instead. Another Beaumaris free kick, this in a far more threatening circumstance. Mason over it. Mason with whip to the back post where Theodosia was lurking. Acrobatically went Avram. Boot was raised though a little too highly. Just as Strangis went to get a foot in, there is just a bit of a check on Avram to make sure she is all right to continue. Bounce quickly back up to her feet. For a moment, though, eyed the spectacular. Sato. And Pearson has proved quite the opponent. That was tidy from Sato. On for Sawa. Steered for Tomita. Foot in from Dimos, only kept Tomita going. Sato round the outside. Tomita, Craigieburn probing. Tomita's drive, awkward for Bradley. And Salisbury hacked it away. Dimos then had to clear. That's really, though, a Tomita drive that troubled Danielle Bradley. Bounced awkwardly before the Beaumaris shot stopper, who could only parry back into an area. And thankfully for her, Salisbury was waiting. That's a gorgeous ball in behind, though. And the flag had stayed down before eventually Sawa stole into strike being raised on the far side. Just for a moment, though, Craigieburn City thought they had their opening. in particular, with angle, with guile, has caused problems as Levin, just in the nick of time, ran out of room. By the barest of margins, Kasoulis is in a hurry. As is Sato, who got away from Galanos and spun beyond Pearson. Sato still going. Pearson's challenge at the expense of a corner. Craigieburn City, though, on the charge. And where they thought they may have had a corner, it must have taken the faintest of flicks of Sato on its way out. It will, in fact, be a goal kick. It's cleverly played by Pearson. Mason's flick on. Tomita the only one to meet it. Now Sawa, who spun away from Bradley. Tomita, Romana. Tidy 1-2 between those two. Minami Tomita once more. Sawa. Romana invites it to drive. Though once more they weren't able to find a way beyond Sakurai. Craigieburn City are charging, though. They know themselves that they will not want this to end level. They don't want the dread of an extended evening. That's another tidy turn from Sato. Bobbled over Fresneda, nearly fell for Kasoulis. Does, in fact, fall for Pearson, who is charging. Had Levin up with her. Almost cut out well by Strangis. Sato, who has grown in stature as this half has played out. Tomita. Strangis invited to drive. Sawa steered it back for Romana, who's got Sakurai to go at. And at the outside, had the opportunity with Richards to work an angle for a ball in. Was well read in the end by Demos, who got a foot in. The pressure is unrelenting, though. Sawa once more. That one, while trying to invite Leleas to go and get onto it, was far too shallow of a delivery. Time maybe, just maybe, for both wanting to become a factor on what has been a semi-final that has flowed very freely, though. You have felt that cagey element. They have felt the weight of what this could mean for both of them. Good read from Demos, which will fall for Bradley. Pearson. Kasoulis got a foot in. Strangis did to better effect. Flicked on by Mason. Kasoulis got in ahead of Levin. Sato, a little too much on it. And for all the Beaumaris battle in this second half, battle to get themselves level. Had a couple of opportunities since then to go and get ahead in this game. Craigieburn City warded them off and are finishing stronger. Romana. Again looked to get it back from Richards. Again it was well read. And again it was given away for Fresneda. And now Richards has finally got a yard. Whipped to the near post, away by Galanos. Richards on the follow-in. And Bradley with good sight and good angle. And most importantly, a good pair of hands. And then was quick to release Pearson, who has stormed away from Sato. Had Levin up with her, who is sizing up Kasoulis, who is on a booking. Avram. Looking to drive at Tomita, whipped to the near post, and just as Sakurai was charging, Campbell claimed and released Romana. Fresneda. Again, Romana invited to drive. Richards. Fresneda. That's a searching ball for Sawa. Salisbury got across first. can either find their moments of magic. To seal what has been an enthralling Steph Catley Plate semi-final. These two have both showcased what took them so far in the Nike FC Cup this season. Levin with tidy feet, foot in, then fell for Bradley. On for Theodosiou, out the other way for Sakurai, who has got Romana in retreat. Theodosiou, that's a gorgeous return. Sakurai with options arriving. The flick fell for Sato, then Tomita. Still Craigieburn City can't clear. Romana patient. Just waited for Richards to drop off. Was speared long for Leleas. In firmly was Salisbury. Place for Pearson, who got away from one. Set it back. Levin's effort deflected, and Campbell spilled and then gathered. Just for a moment though, she must have thought that deflection would have caused it to have a wicked trajectory alteration. Now the counter on for Craigieburn City. Richards charging. Central was Fresneda flying in. And getting a foot on it was Dimos. Fresneda on for Sawa, who is in behind. Galano stood up. Well, charging centrally. Yet another shout for a penalty waved away. Fresneda had advanced further forward. She took a tumble. Bradley again has looked for Levin, who has been superb in this second half. Levin and Kasoulis again resumed battle, and Kasoulis did just about enough. Michelle Levin, though, was not best pleased with the way in which Betty Kasoulis worked the space. Galanos for Avram, flicked over Russo, though no further. And you just start to creep into what could come further. Are we in for a further 30 here this evening? Or is there to be someone to go and snatch it late? Sato certainly wants to. So back for Kasoulis, on for Tomita. Out the other way was Romana, who again has got space to drive and again has stood off from. Romana again went to thread when she was urged to shoot. Covered for Salisbury, who could only clear. Beaumaris are hanging in there. Craigieburn City are asking all the questions. Tomita tried to draw Theodosiou, moved on for Fresneda, who again spun away from trouble and evaded with elegance. Richards return. Fresneda, foot in from Salisbury, who has been most solid. Avram had Levin further forward, well read by Russo. Sato. Kasoulis. Sawa dropped in. Galanos just for a second thought she could get a boot in. Switch for Romana once more, who's got beyond Sakurai and has got options either side. Romana this time on the drive, went the run on her own, and Galanos came crashing through to clear. And now, substitution will be made. Avram's evening will end. Beaumaris going to their bench for the second time. Ruby Mason will be introduced. Late in the evening's action. And for Evgenia Avram. string of nearly moments came to its conclusion. Throw was taken too sharply. Is there to be a late look? Is there to be one last opportunity? Either can carve out. Second half, it's been few and far between. Sawa steering. Leleas did well. Romana. Richards. Romana will continue. Had options arriving. Was again encased by Bradley and Galanos, who couldn't quite clear. Set back centrally. It took a ricochet. And it will in turn be a corner. Craigieburn an opportunity to go and snatch the lead back, potentially snatch the tie in and of itself. Fresnaders take dangerously. Late on rushes, shout for a handball waved away. Poked away via a touch, and they will do it all over again. Fresneda sauntering over. Take two of the set piece. Beaumaris have had quite the bit of defending to do. They must do even more so if they are to get through this Craigieburn challenge, which they will be hoping is too strong. Time now becoming a factor. Leleas didn't catch it cleanly. Still a good amount for either team to win this game. Though it has been a half without much plentiful opportunity. And it was that early wave of Beaumaris optimism which has not necessarily dissipated but been put on pause. As again Leleas battled Asawa. Romana mopped it up. They wanted a foul which they won't get. Now an opportunity on the charge forward for Ruby Mason, and a yellow card for Romana as well. Now a few for Craigieburn in the book. And another change for Beaumaris. Annabelle Sakurai, who has had, certainly in the first half, an evening of entertainment, will have her evening come to an end. Second half has been more defensively defiant and been able to gallop going forward, but she has done her bit. They will play no further part. Opportunity for Beaumaris from this set piece. Whipped in for Mason, who got the flick on, and Campbell was a long way off her line. Just didn't quite have the height to trouble her further. And Jemima Sampson-Gower, the one coming on for Sakurai. That was well read by Russo. Fresneda steered into the channel by Romana, though only to find touch. Neither side have relented at all at any stage in this game. Two sides not separated by a lot in the Victorian football pyramid. That's been on full showcase. That's a gorgeous ball though for Mason in behind, and it needed a foot in from Strangis just to prevent Ruby Mason from causing Craigieburn discomfort. Beaumaris themselves now looking for a late flurry. through was Strangis. No further than Samson Gower, who took over. 1-2 foot. Ruby Mason was cut out well. So back for Romano once more. Steered on by Richards. Tomita. Challenge from Bradley was just too firm. Craigieburn were in a hurry to take it, and it's because Fresneda had got a couple of yards. Got away from two, though not beyond Salisbury, who was the one waiting. She in turn could not clear further. And 8 charging Richards. Deflection saw it trickle out of play. Leleas again battled. And battled with Bradley at the edge of the area. Looking to drive further forward. And steered dangerously. Hooked away by Golanos. It then fell for Leleas. Cleared no further than Fresneda. Good footing from Ruby Mason, who then got it back. Went to spear it for Levin. Russo, calm. Tomita, equally so. Set back for Strangis, who wanted to get things rolling. Sato had just tucked in, and again the space had opened up. And again, Richards had got room to roam. Clipped teasingly for Leleas, who wasn't able to steer it for Sawa. Still Beaumaris cannot clear. Galanos now. Her turn to have a look at getting it away. And the flick-on nearly found its way through the lot. Almost out of nowhere and out of nothing. Almost as well at personal cost. That would have been quite the way to settle this game. As it looped, time became elongated. Danielle Bradley wanted it to dip where it eventually did, wide of the post. And was massively relieved when it did as such. Kaylin Richards nearly with industry, nearly with something wonderful. Intentional or not. A fraction from the far corner. And still they go, and still she goes. To roll for Leleas. A crucial read from Mason. Levin. And now Samson Gower's got one to chase. In retreat to come and clear with Strangis. Game's just become stretched. Beaumaris wanting to crash on the counter. Craigieburn have been more methodical, more melodic in their second half breakdown setup. Throw flung long. Was nodded away by Romana. Was one back and whipped to the area. Campbell was just running the margins a little bit fine on that occasion. Ball was already out, though not by enough or by much. There were a couple of Beaumaris appeals for a corner, of which were waved away. Dimos under it, Salisbury through it. Theodosi with a tidy touch. Rachel Mason unable to steer it further forward, though able to rin it back. Samson Gower was just searching momentarily. Sato. Got it from Sawa. Just had Kasoulis on the overlap. Had to be watchful. Got it back from Rousseau. Of whom Sato returns it to. Levin's press has been a real menace for much of the evening. That time no different. Michelle Levin, who got Beaumaris level right at the start of this half, has similarly looked rather likely 2 in a week for her, was on the score sheet in their victory over Monash University at the weekend just gone. Pick no finer a moment, perhaps, to go and get the goal that Beaumaris really craved at the start of the second half. It had set them off for a half where they had battled and bought themselves a real way of interest in this game. Was flicked on for Theodosiou, no further than Rousseau. Given away to Mason, and Levin had gone just a bit too early. Beaumaris thought that was their moment. Campbell took quickly. Kasoulis flicked it on, no further than Rachel Mason. And this time, Sansom Gower is in behind, and the flag had stayed down. Rousseau marshalled it just. Back to Campbell again. Sato, though, couldn't clear further. Levin took over. Was waiting on a runner. Pearson gave her one, and it was a smashing ball to find her. Cutback took a deflection, which favoured Tomita. Sansom Gower was the one lurking. Too late, Beaumaris looks. Neither of which came to anything, and now Fresneda has released Sawa on the break. He's got Golanos to have a look at. Threaded in behind for Fresneda, who timed the run terrifically. Another shout for a penalty, waved away. Kasoulis went on the switch for Richards, who only found Bradley. Sato was then the one to be found. Kasoulis, Fresneda let it fly through. Sawa couldn't get it under. Cleared for Theodosiou, who couldn't get away from Leleas. Romana, who has got room to drive. Got away from one, speared it centrally. Bradley parried, and then went to gather at the second attempt. And what a free kick at the end of it. Just a real bit of chaos right at the close. Ticket to the final, not yet booked for either. There still is time for that to change. It will by the end of the evening. Extra half an hour and then a dreaded shootout. Levin is looking to ensure we don't get there though. Kasoulis under immense pressure. Likewise was Rousseau, who had to clear. Is there to be one last change to the script? It would be almost at the very last. Galanos couldn't re-find Pearson. Or are we in fact set for still further to unfold? Cleared no further than Rachel Mason, who has had quite an evening. Only could set it though for Romana, who steered for Leleas. Demos got a foot in momentarily. Sawa away from Galanos. Demos in retreat was really tidy. Danielle Bradley through, and in fact, we will not find a winner in 90 minutes. Craigieburn had the lead at half-time, though Michelle Levin, quick in the second half, early on in it, got Beaumaris level, and that is where we find ourselves finished for the time being. There is still more to come, though full-time here at the end of 90. It is Craigieburn City 1, Beaumaris 1. And so it will be extra time. A further 30 for one of these two to put themselves in the final. Craigieburn City 1 up at half-time. Early goal from Minami Tomita from a corner. They were then reeled in equally early succession in the second half by Michelle Levin, as Beaumaris just looked to cause a problem. And Beaumaris looked to flip this game on its head in the second half. Craigieburn City then had a really good patch. Neither sides could find a way through until the end of time, and now we have half an hour, or it will be decided from the spot. For these two, who have had respective really good Nike FC Cup runs throughout the season, as Campbell's forced to concede. He is in fact not to concede an early corner. You just think back for it, Beaumaris in the Nike FC Cup did not venture to extra time at all. This will be a test of not only their nerve, but also their mettle. As Romana looked to get a touch, Richard stood in kind. Theodosiou looked to get in ahead. Richard's got a foot in. Was flung long by Dimos. Kept alive. And whipped dangerously to the top of the area where Sato was the only one lurking. Was encouraging from Sansum Gower. Leleas went to poke it through for Sato. Dimos got a foot in. Galanos speared it superbly. It's a good take from Levin too. Mason whipped it on. Sansum Gower gave chase. Campbell was quickly out to go and gather it. And in their own Nike FC Cup run, Craigieburn City 2 did not go to extra time. So unfamiliar territory for both when it comes to cup competition in 2026. And already for our first semi-final, it is to be decided thrillingly. Galanos is lobbed down the line. Was nodded away by Kasoulis. These Craigieburn City players, for a lot of them, already have a full 90. Extra half an hour is going to be beyond the test for them too. And if still we can't find a winner, you then wonder what that must do on a night like this when it comes to the nerves, when it comes to the expectation, the weight of a penalty shootout. Good ball from Mason. Levin went to return it. Foot in from Kasoulis. Rachel Mason won it back. Now Bradley. Salisbury. Out the other way was Ruby Mason. Had a runner down the line in Sansum Gower. Cleared away by Russo. No further than Theodosiou, whose touch was tidy. Rachel Mason steered it out the other way for Pearson, who got beyond Kasoulis, as did Strangis in the end. But so far in this first part of extra time, Beaumaris are the ones asking all the questions. At the moment, Craigieburn City have had the answers. Again, set for Rachel Mason. Cleared away by Strangis. Sato had it fired into her. Took it down terrifically. And then was on hand to clear. And now the counter could be on, though. The touchline will beat Sawa, who just stormed through. And looked for a second as though she would have the entire left-hand side to have a drive down. You also have to think ahead. Not only what does this mean for tonight, what does it mean for whichever of these two makes the final. Is an extra half an hour in their legs, not just for that, but for league fixtures at the weekend too. For Beaumaris, perhaps the last thing they would have wanted when it comes to a title race where they currently lead the way is to be taken an extra 30 minutes. Craigieburn City, though, know that though they are comfortably mid-table, this is a chance at silverware this season. Though an opportunity as Strand just lunged in. Just as Levin again looked to go through, and Strand just has stayed down. And is quickly back onto her feet. Craigieburn City still not wanting to make changes. Ruby Mason read it best. Tried to steer it on for Sansom Gower. Rachel Mason got a foot in, as did Theodosiou. Though it benefited Sato, who is on the charge. Had Leleas as the only other up with her. And had a white wall ahead of her. Salisbury, the one of which most difficult to get down. And now Beaumaris have not one but two down. Both of whom suffering from cramp. Both simultaneously just were in need of some sort of attention. Alexandra Theodosiou was one. And she in turn is still just ensuring all is well. Craigieburn City congregating. They are in deep discussion. And the other of whom, Rachel Mason, is back to her feet. Though is moving rather gingerly, which, though it looked as though it may have only been cramp, you don't want to suggest it could have been something more serious. Mason has covered a lot of ground, has played every single second so far tonight. But Morris may be forced into a change here. There is just that check on as to whether or not she can continue. You sense they won't risk it though. As Rachel Mason is being aided off. This could be a testing time for them. Olivia Farrell still one of the substitutes who could be awaiting introduction. And in fact will be introduced into it. So they won't run the risk with Rachel Mason. She was up rather gingerly. Someone who's been an important part of a strong season that Beaumaris have had. She will be kept for the weekend. And kept for that clash. In the meantime, Leleas, not once but twice, steered it across. And Sawa stormed in at the back post to give them the lead back once more. They may have stolen it. Leleas determined, the initial press a good one. The angle closed. And the strike across turned into the perfect cutback. for Linda Sawa, who was at the double in vain at the weekend. Now gets her goal, and one that could hold massive meaning for Craigieburn City, who not for the first time tonight find themselves ahead, but now find themselves with time a huge factor towards a Steph Catley Plate final, though Beaumaris are wanting to reply with immediacy and have got themselves a corner. And all of a sudden, extra time has sparked into life. The latest of late runs, providing maybe the latest, the greatest of late goals for Craigieburn City. Though there is still more than enough time. Corner set to the near post. Russo got a foot in, not once but twice. And then further forward was Sato, who was dragged down and will relieve all the pressure with a free kick. Just warded off a little bit of Beaumaris sting. And that may nearly break for Leleas once more. Salisbury across to hook it away. As the ball from Bradley. That's one which Casoulis will see how to play. And still, when it comes to it, they are not yet halfway there once again. Flick on for Sato, who has been superb this evening. Sansom Gower tried to steer it further forward for Farrell. Dimos out the other way for Mason. She in turn again went to Spiridon and looked for Levin. Cleared away no further than Bradley. Set back for Galanos, who when trying to spear for Farrell only found Campbell. And she will take as long as she can. Romana, that's lovely. To steer herself away from danger. Ball will be one which Dimos will see trickle out of play. And again, Beaumaris have it to do. On a night where they have picked themselves off the floor once already. That's given away for Tomita though. She got it back from Sawa. Looked to clip over the top for Fresneda. Salisbury nodded it away. Set back for Bradley from Theodosiou. Farrell. Her flick at the second time away from Russo. For Romana, anywhere will do. Fresneda helped it on. Galanos came through. Casoulis with a loose touch. Theodosiou got in. Cleared away. This time, once again, by Russo. The room opened up though for Mason, who got away from Romana and was bundled into. Beaumaris appealed for a penalty and that was waved away. And still they search. Bradley on for Galanos. Leleas pressed in vain. The ball speared over the top. Campbell came to claim it. Theodosiou could only nod it out of play. Since that goal, Craigieburn City have simply looked to take the sting out of things. Beaumaris have started to throw a bit more. They know they still have a quarter of an hour further. Flick on will favour Sato. who's got options left and right. Looked to drive at Salisbury, who stayed firm. Helped on by Dimos. On by Russo. Bradley, Fresneda in the chaos came away with it. Romana in ahead and will clip one into the channel for Richards to chase. Dimos under pressure, as was Mason, who came through to win it. And that, for the first bit of extra time, will be that. And at the moment, Craigieburn City are a quarter of an hour from the Steph Catley Plate final. Though they went in tense, though they went in all tied up, it was Linda Sawa who stole in at the back post to put this in their favour once more. As we go to extra time, half time, it's Craigieburn City 2, Beaumaris 1. So 15 minutes then for Beaumaris to find a way either to go and flip this on its head or to force spot kicks. If they fail to do so, Craigieburn City will be going to the Steph Catley Plate final. And once again, it has been an evening for Michelle Levin. She has gone the distance tonight, well and truly, and some way, somehow, is still trying to find a way to push through and to push forward. As Craigieburn City are doing the same to go and kill this cup tie. And for Linda Sawa, goal at the most important of times, the most important of late runs. She at the moment is match winner in Craigieburn City's first plate semi-final here. History beckons for this lot. Last season it was Caroline Springs, George Cross and Manningham United. Craigieburn City are close to putting themselves into the final test for these this season. Good read by Romana, who got it back without much fuss from Richards. She went to spear it on. Sawa again is lurking. Levin has a problem, and though did just enough to go and clear it. The problem for Beaumaris is they are out of substitutions. If she is to go down and can't continue, they will have to close it out with 10. Slung long for Sato, who just tried to work a yard on Galanos. Cleared away by Salisbury. Fresneda was met by Sansom Gower. It then fell for Farrell. Russo got under it. Levin nodded on. Sato will fancy this. Opportunity to drive at Levin, who is warding off well and warded off in the end with a little bit too much eagerness and gives away a free kick. Which this not only are Craigieburn City not in too much of a rush to take, but know if they get it right, could all but set them on their way to the final. Will be Fresneda to take. Again whipped dangerously over beyond Salisbury. What a save that was from Bradley. And that may very well have just kept Beaumaris in it. Brilliant stop. Through a crowd down low, though Romana is charging. Again breezed her way beyond. Battle with Salisbury, whipped in again, awkward for Bradley, dipped devilishly, away by Galanos. Richards battled. Craigieburn will be happy, it stays there. What a save from Danielle Bradley. In the 18-yard box carnage that ensued. The most telling of touches. Good read by Tomita though. Sato. Up for Richards. Sent back for Romana. Craigieburn City aren't simply wanting to see this out. They want to ice this game. And it had not yet found its way out of play. In fact, it did trickle over in the end for a corner. Again it will be Fresneda. Again it will be with whip to the near post. Again Beaumaris can't quite clear. Sansom Gower got a touch. That found Farrell. Demos couldn't get under it. Recovered well by Richards. No way through from Strangis. Leleas could take from Sato, who then spun sharply away from Bradley. Sato then steered it smashingly in kind. Salisbury read it well, just as her and Richards both went through it and then became entangled. And there will just be a word being had, those two. Salisbury. And Richards. Ensuring all is well. Richards then took a slip. Was worked tidily for Sato, who wins a corner. Craigieburn are just starting to feel that they're nearly there. And for Beaumaris, it could be cup heartbreakers. Tomita had it set back and the effort was not far away. It in turn just faded late. Again, Danielle Bradley just had to watch it wide of the post. Drive was not a bad one. Sato got a touch. Sawa nearly found it. Fresneda did find it. And steered it on for Sawa. And now Sato, who can end it, is denied by Bradley. And again, Levin is slow back to her feet. You can hardly blame her at this point in time. Good take from Richards. Fresneda found her way back to Tomita. Romana had just overlapped. Strangis. Fresneda went to thread it. Sato gave chase. Bradley was always going to gather. Time truly a factor now. Speared long by Daniel Bradley for Pearson to get under. Challenge from Kasoulis was a good one. Question remaining, what have Beaumaris got left? If they can go and pinch something to take this game to the spot, or are Craigieburn City to ice it? Salisbury across ahead of Sawa. Whatever is left must be thrown at it. Time is now truly a factor. Romana with far too much force for Richards. And at the moment, on a night that has been truly most crisp, Linda Sawa, despite that, has kept the coolest head of anybody here. She is the one right now, steering Craigieburn City to the final. Beaumaris know now, time is no longer a commodity they can afford to waste. Speared long. Once again by Ruby Mason, who just went to look in the channel. Gave Pearson one to chase. Found its way out of play before it could find her. Romana long. It's all about distance for Craigieburn City now, though. Here is Tomita. Romana. Well, read by Salisbury. Again, could not steer it further than Fresneda. Bradley. Sansom Gower tried to turn, though, turned into Tomita, who has released Sato. Options left and right. Went to thread it through for Sawa. Galanov's got a foot in. Mason couldn't stop it from finding its way out of play. Craigieburn just starting to soak the seconds. They know it is almost time to book a place at the home of the Matildas. Again, whipped into the area. Galanos was there to meet it. Looked to set it for Salisbury. Tomita made sure she couldn't get out. Ball was again out of play, and again Craigieburn City just being able to slow this game down. Sansom Gower's touch is loose. Every throw-in on that far side being cheered as though they have made it a third. Into the final five. They know they are so close. As Romana rolled it down the line for Richards, whose return was terrific. Romana hung it up for Sawa, and that'll do it. That will be that. She is at the double again. And where Beaumaris hearts are broken, it is Craigieburn City Bedlam. They now, you feel, will be final bound. The ball was hung up superbly. The run was timed terrifically, as it was for her first. A late goal. And that, for Craigieburn City, should all but seal it. On a night where they went ahead, Beaumaris reined them in. And it looked as though for a second that they might just have enough to go over the top in this game. Though in extra time. Craigieburn City's match changer, Linda Sawa. Beaumaris still feel there is time. Farrell with a good turn. Though then too much contact on Tomita. You think to the opportunities in the first half after going behind, start of the second half. And how Beaumaris may rue them now. Craigieburn City, though, this looking as though it's not going to be a night of what could have been. Richards lunged in. Sawa, believe it or not, is chasing an extra time hat-trick. She gave chase in vain. As now they will make a change. Incredibly late in the evening. Leleus will make way for Rafaela De Bono. First time tonight, Craigieburn City have gone to alter things. I know now, not only is it simply soaking off the seconds, it's an opportunity to get maybe some fresh legs just in case. There is still some time to be seen out. As Romana searching for Sawa, this time coming back from an offside position. Beaumaris may have time up. Belted long only to Tomita. Good read by Ruby Mason just to get a foot on it. She rolled it on for Pearson, who couldn't get further forward. Tomita will get the final 1-2, and Craigieburn City will find themselves in the Steph Catley Plate final. They were taken the distance by Beaumaris, who equalised right at the start of the second half. Michelle Levin got them level. It went all the way. And in the further 30, a goal in either extra time half, both courtesy of Linda Sawa. See Craigieburn City make history. Their first Steph Catley Plate semi-final at this ground, and their first win at this ground in such way as well. A night for them to remember as they now look to the home of the Matildas and their hope of silverware still alive in 2026. Full time, it's Craigieburn City 3, Beaumaris 1.